You don't negotiate with terrorists as a government. If I were the president of the Federal Republic of Nigeria, I would not have any form of negotiations with any terrorist organization that makes it its business to be killing Nigerians, blowing them up in churches, blowing them up in their homes, slitting their throats on a daily basis, and just killing them with such impunity. I would not negotiate with such people. And I think it's a sign of weakness. I think that it encourages the enemy when you begin to ask for negotiations with an organization that is determined to kill as many people as possible in order to achieve its objectives. I believe in dialogue after you have brought them to their knees, or after you have responded and carried out your primary duty of protecting the lives and properties of the Nigerian people. In other words, you first of all unleash hell on them. You fight them into the ground. You put them into their place. And at that point, when they've had enough, they will now sue for peace. That is what has happened everywhere else in the world. Because some of my colleagues and friends will say, well, that what about the IRA? What about this? What about that? What about even now in Pakistan, in Afghanistan, there's some levels of dialogue going on, or negotiation. That came after a prolonged period of struggle, of armed struggle, and the government doing its job. You don't, at the outset of hostilities, whilst they're killing your people, bombing your churches, trying to create a sectarian war in this country and break up our country and impose an Islamist agenda, sponsored by Al-Qaeda and some elements within this country itself, then you now say, before you do anything as a government to protect us, you now say, well, let's talk. I think that the idea of dialogue for me is absurd. I think it's something that's infantile, and I think it's something that's very short-sighted. You do not dialogue with people that are committed to destroying you. As a government, you fight them. And I have an example. I can cite an example where it worked. When we were in power, before I came into government, this was in between 1998 and 2003, there was the case of Udi, in which President Obasanjo was faced with a dilemma where soldiers and armed and policemen were killed by the Niger Delta militants. He asked the governor of that state to produce the people, and the governor said he could not do so. He wouldn't, or he couldn't, I'm not sure which one it was. And the president took a firm hand and said, listen, I will not accept this. A situation where, militants of any sort are killing soldiers and policemen, and we cannot restore them, means that anarchy is set in place, and I won't accept that. And he went in, and they literally leveled a whole town called Udi. Leveled it. And it's on record that post-Udi, no policeman or soldier was killed by the Niger Delta militants under Obasanjo's watch. In fact, the killing of human beings stopped. They did kidnapping, yes. They did blow up a few pipelines, yes. But what did OBJ do? He leveled Udi, the killing stopped. He arrested most of the Niger Delta militant leaders, locked them up. He presented a firm hand, and the killing stopped. But what happened after he left? Agitations took place. Amnesty came into the whole thing. I believe Yar'Adua gave him an ultimatum: either have amnesty or I'll crush you. They said, we'll take the money and take amnesty instead. He paid them the money, and this was a mistake. Because if you go by that logic, Boko Haram should do the same thing, except they're not interested in money. Anyway, he paid them the money. Peace returned to the state, to the Niger Delta area. And of course, it was only a matter of time before another group from another part of the country would see that, look, violence pays. So let's do our own thing. Let's make our own demands like Boko Haram is doing today. We might just get our way. So that's where we are. So, the idea of dialoguing, settling, giving them money to put down arms and things, for me, I think has failed. Everywhere in the civilized world, you meet violent force from terrorists with more violent force from the armed forces. Of course they have the ability to do it. Look, the Nigerian armed forces are absolutely magnificent in battle. Our armed forces are excellent. They're probably one of the, in fact, if not the best on the African continent. It's probably only the South Africans that come close to us. Our boys know how to fight. It's not my party. I've left the PDP.
Oh.
I left the PDP quite some time ago. I didn't make noise about it. I will not be part of this. And so it's not my party.
Okay.
Yes. But it is a party which I was part of for a very long time. And I worked very hard for, as I did for the government I served. But we parted ways long ago, thankfully. Okay. I commend his courage for coming out with the truth that the PDP is part of the problem that has caused Boko Haram to flourish all the more, and the mistakes that the PDP has made, in terms of the handling of the situation in the northern part of the country. That is, they didn't reach out enough to those that felt alienated, in the north. I think he was very honest, and I think that, again, in order to solve the problem, you first have to identify what that problem is. And I think he did that. He should be commended for that. It's a pity that those in power and authority don't seem to have taken him very seriously. Instead, they were reprimanding him on the pages of the newspaper. But that's the Nigerian way anyway. Where you have the chairman of the PDP will tell the world that Boko Haram is fighting for justice. I think that for me is like putting the nail in the coffin. It cannot happen in any serious country. It cannot happen in any civilized country that the chairman of the ruling party will say publicly that Boko Haram, an Islamist organization that is committed to Islamizing the North, wiping out Christianity, burning churches, killing Muslims that don't agree with their own form of Islam, that group is fighting for justice. This is something that I find extraordinary. And the president did not reprimand him, criticize him, or condemn him publicly, did not disown him, and that is the chairman of the ruling party. I said good luck to Nigeria. My resolve was firm long before then, because I knew where it was all heading. But for me, when I heard that, that's what I did. I kept very quiet about it, because I'm part of a system, and for me to then say I'm going against us, it will take a very, very long time. I'd rather just keep quiet and keep to myself. But when I heard that, what encouraged me was the NSA's comments that finally these people are beginning to see the light. Okay. But when I heard the chairman of the party's comments, Alhaji Bamanga Tukur, my disgust for the PDP became manifest, and I could not hold it in any longer. Listen, I'm a very responsible person. I don't speak like this for fun. It took me a long time to arrive at this situation. It's not just about Boko Haram. That's bad enough. It's about the economy. It's about the future of our country. When we left office in 2007, we had $23 billion in the excess crude account. We had almost $100 billion in our foreign reserves. And we had no foreign debt at all. Okay? We had wiped it out. Go back a little bit. 1999, when Obasanjo came in, we had no excess crude account at all. Okay? There was no money there. There was no such thing. We had in the foreign reserves, we had about $1 billion. Okay? And we had foreign debt of 30-something billion US dollars. Okay? That's where it started. 8 years later, we had excess crude account, $23 billion US dollars in it. Listen to me carefully. $100 billion in foreign reserves, and we had no debt. That's what he did in 8 years. Okay? Foreign. Very good. Pretty good record. The whole of the history of Africa, no country has ever wiped out its foreign debt. In fact, those from the West never believed any African country could do that. We did that. We were the pride of the world at that time, the pride of Africa. Okay. 2007, a new administration came in, Yar'Adua. Instead of focusing on the economy, focusing on making the lives of Nigerians, he instead, the same PDP, focused on 7-point agenda, and he had a silent 8-point. He had an 8th point which was silent. The 8th point was really the one he focused on. He didn't focus on the 7. Okay, it was the 8th, which was destroy all my enemies, destroy those within the PDP, including Obasanjo and all his boys, because I can't match their record, and because they're the ones that will make the most noise. You know that El-Rufai talks too much, Fani-Kayode talks too much, Ribadi talks too much. These are very hard, difficult boys. We have to deal with all of them. That's what they focused on. That's okay, though. It doesn't matter. Let's look at what they did to the economy. Okay? Within, 2-3 years of Yar'Adua, and let's even say up till today, what's the state of the economy now? That's the 4 years since we left. coming from where we're coming from, I've given you facts and figures. Today, where are we? Foreign debt, let's start with excess crude account, nothing there. Doesn't even, they spent all the money in 4 years, there's nothing there anymore. Foreign debt, where are we now? Okay, we're now down to about 30 something, foreign reserves, okay? We're now down to about 30 something billion US in our foreign, from 100 billion when we left office. Okay, we're down, okay? Foreign debt. Now, foreign debt itself is about 10 billion now, we're about to borrow another load of money. So we're back in debt from zero. And if you add foreign debt together with the local debt, that is internal debt to foreign, we are owing about 50 billion US dollars today as a country. Quite apart from that, okay? Quite apart from that, salaries are not being paid on time. The backlog in salaries. There's no money in the system. The growth, the economic growth has not, the economy has not been growing at a reasonable rate compared to before. Everything is relative. Everything is relative. I mean, you can say you're doing a good job if you don't look at what has happened before. Well, you understand what I'm saying? Yeah. Let's look at the power sector, for example, which a lot of people criticize Obasanjo's government about. 4 years after Obasanjo left, we hit a maximum of 4,000 megawatts per day. Okay, 4 years after he left, we're down to about 2.53 now. They hit 4. They were making noise and they hit 4. They hit 4. We hit 4 years ago. They've gone back now.
You've done exactly as some of your friends have done. They've left the party. Another one of your friends is leading light in the CPC. Another is in the AC.
Nasser?
So who are you following?
Nasser,
so where do you want to?
They're brothers to me.
Yeah.
No. There are a lot of things happening now, and I don't want to speak too much about that. But let me just tell you, there's a lot of realignment going on. A lot of things are being worked out. We're all moving more or less in the same direction. When the time comes, we will present an alternative platform. We will jointly present an alternative, and we will all be together. Make no mistake. Because you see, the problem always comes when we're divided and you try and take on a monster. If we do not present a credible platform, a united platform, to fight the PDP for 2015, then there's no hope for Nigeria anymore. Within about 3 or 4 years, we would have become like Zaire, the laughing stock of the world. When he now said he wanted a northerner, we said, okay, fine. There are other alternatives. Think of someone else. And he said we should also think. Everybody agreed on El Rufai. So it was like between El Rufai and Umaru.